computer. Greetings, everyone. Today we have with us a special guest. Um, our guest's name is no other than Brother John W. Jackson. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome Brother John W. Jackson of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a respected Pan-African thinker, Garveyite, educator, longtime advocate for African unity and the empowerment of people of African descent. Brother John Jackson has devoted many years to preserving and advancing the philosophy and principles of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. His work emphasizes self-determination, economic empowerment, institution building, historical education, and strengthening the relationship between Africa and the global diaspora. Throughout the years, he has engaged with leaders, organizers, educators, community members, encouraging thoughtful dialogue on the future of Pan-Africanism, the African Union's Agenda 2063, and the role that today's generation must play in shaping tomorrow's Africa. In today's conversation, we will explore his personal journey, his experiences with the Garvey movement, his perspective on the current state of Pan-Africanism, and his vision for strengthening the bonds between Africa and the diaspora. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our distinguished brother, John W. Jackson. Brother Jackson, thank you for accepting our invitation. It is truly a pleasure and an honor to have you with us today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kuda. I'm glad that I could participate.
Thank you. Over to you. I remember you asking if before we take on that you would like us to connect with our ancestors. So I'm handing over to you to guide us through that process, please.
Well, generally, I have a silent communication, and and I have been actually very, very blessed, and my life is actually magical from my point of view. And so I thank the ancestors for all they have given me.
Wonderful. And you would like us to have a moment of silence, you said? 1 minute silence?
Well, 30 seconds will do.
30 seconds. Okay. So we will observe a 30-second moment of silence before we take off on this wonderful journey. Please join us. Thank you. That was 30 seconds. Thank you. And you'd like us to say the UNIA slogan together?
Yes, that is the spirit by which we actually joined with history and the world currently. The UNIA and the motto, one God, one aim, one destiny.
Okay, one God,
one God,
one aim,
one aim,
one destiny.
one destiny.
Thank you. So the floor is all yours, Brother Jackson. Today, we want to hear about the history of where we're coming from as a people. Some of
Mhm,
us, we don't know our origins, we don't know our roots. And
mhm.
this is a moment for you to share your wisdom with us and put us on the right path to know where we're coming from, to know our roots, to know our background, our history as African people who are global. We are all over in the globe.
Yes, that is interesting. That's part of the divine plan, isn't it? That we are
Yeah.
not explorers, yet we are we are found everywhere outside of Africa. And we are a catalyst for change and improvement. We will we advocate, virtue in all people. And it appeared that the people who brought us here are villains. And so, how do we uh, preserve ourselves in a hostile climate? One of my images of my place in life, and I think we, the Black people, over the last 6 centuries, has been that in a bullfight, only the bull does not know the rules. And we've been brought into the Western Hemisphere naked and half naked and not knowing the language, and yet we're expected to behave like Romans and Greeks and Vikings and Christians, while the the overlords themselves violate those same principles and not even respecting their own laws. Uh, give an example that in the Second Continental Congress, which created the present Constitution, Black people are listed there as 3/5 of a person for calculating the membership in the House of Representatives. The president of the Congress was from South Carolina, and he was the number one slave dealer in the nation at that time. And now here he is sitting in a committee discussing republicanism and democracy. Okay. And the same is true with the whole Continental Congress, that half of them were from the South. And as such, nearly all of them were slave owners, you see. And yet that issue is being shunted to the side. And yet we are like the grain of sand in a person's shoe. They can't get rid of it because they will not be honest with it. And therefore, for example, because they did not solve the Negro problem, say, in 1776, it got postponed to the Constitution. And there the argument was that the South members should be equal to the Northern members. And since most Blacks lived in the South, they had to reduce the value of the Blacks in order to achieve that. And that then became a governing principle of the country, that the North and the South had to be balanced. Therefore, every time a slave state was brought in, a free state had to be brought in. Or when a free state was brought in, a slave state. And so that balance is known as the Missouri Compromise. And it governed the country from 1820 to 1863. And it brought about the Civil War. We are just standing here and all of that is happening around us, and which we are getting the blame. Yet we did not bring ourselves here to America, you see? And so we are the bull in the middle of that conflict. So what should we do in that circumstance?
Yes.
Now, the history says we must know ourselves.
Yeah.
And right now, the whites have created a conflict and they say, you are not Africans, you are Americans, you see. Now, that's politics rather than ethnology, you see. And unfortunately, some of our people are saying, yes, I'm not African, I've never been there, you see. But that's not the point. Many of the Europeans have never been to Europe, yet they think of themselves as European and then British and German, you see. And we don't go around saying we are Zulus and we are Yoruba and we are, we just say that we are blacks, you see. But now that the world consciousness is beginning to focus on that concept of who are you really, we have to be able to answer that question in a historical context so that it cannot be smashed with some spurious criticism.
Yeah.
So here in America, therefore, we must start by saying we are Africans in America, transported here across the Atlantic by Europeans. See, that defines it for the whole hemisphere. There is no evidence of blacks mounting a ship and transporting ourselves to America. See?
Yeah.
So now, over that period, from 1492 to 1890, the Europeans brought something close to 13 million African individuals. Total
How many?
strangers, 13 million.
13 million African individuals.
Yes. And that's equivalent to the total population of the country we call Rwanda or Burundi or Benin. The number of people taken out of Africa would populate those three countries. You see.
That were brought
Now,
to the United States only?
no, to the hemisphere,
Oh, to
from
the,
Canada to Argentina.
okay.
And so Garveyism is about basically our nationalism. What is our nationalism? In the Latin language, nationalism is like nature, and as we say, natal, and it means where were you born? But nationalism is more than where you were born geographically. It is where your ancestors were born. And we African people have a magnificent genealogy. We have been human beings for 16 million years. See? And whereas the genus we call Homo sapiens sapient only has a genealogy of 250,000 years. See?
Yeah.
So we have to know, therefore, who we are and our importance to the human race. You see? Modern geology and genetics states that very possibly the Nile Valley is the original Eden, you see? And so people then migrated out of Africa into Asia. In some ways, that is part of the Hebrew dogma of the Garden of Eden. It states that 4 rivers flow out of the garden, and then it gives geography. And one is the river that flows out of Africa. Now, there's only one river that flows out of Africa into the Mediterranean. So there it is, right there in Moses, in the Chronicles composed by Moses, that the Nile is one of the 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden. See? Another one of,
Excuse me.
sure.
Sorry to cut you, Brother Jackson. I just want to take you back. You said African or human beings have 60 million years. Or
16.
oh, 1/6, 1/6
Mhm, mhm.
million
Yeah,
years of existence,
of evolution. Yeah,
of
that
evolution.
yeah, we mankind, that's the level we're speaking here, separated from the other primates circa 16 million years ago.
Which group is that? Is that just all of us as human beings?
Yes,
And
all of
how
us
do you
is
Mhm.
yes, all of us as human beings descend from that Homo group that separated from the gorillas and the chimpanzees and the other primates 16 million years ago.
Okay, so this 16 million years does not dis, um, distinguish between whether you're white or black or Indian or Chinese or Japanese. It's just us as human beings,
Yes, mankind.
mankind.
Now, now the next thing is that the probability is that we, the blacks, carry the dominant genes, and the recessive genes can live as a companion to a dominant gene without being manifest. But in order for a person to be white, quote unquote, two recessives have to combine. And in Africa, we have uh, individuals occasionally born who are true albinos, you see? But they don't live as long as the black people. They sort of like die 20 years sooner. And they can't live with the sun. They get skin cancer and all of that. So we basically have survived so long because the sun and we are compatible. See? What has happened, therefore, is that when the mankind migrated out of Africa into Asia, since they didn't have boats, they had to walk into Asia, the reinforcement of black genes became fewer and fewer, and therefore the recessive genes became more and more dominant. And now the word Caucasian means the white Asians. And so the race of Europe and China emerges out of that migration. See? Now, that is just ethnicity. See, that is neither good nor bad. It's just data. So, but the concern is that for the whites, however, it is also ego. You see, because they want to have superstation. They want to be special, but they are the minority, and they are still struggling to dominate the whole earth, and rather than being content with Europe and Asia, which they have occupied now for 1,000,000 years or so, you see. And so we have to keep our cool, so to say, and see that they are pretenders and not get involved by taking them seriously. You see? So it's like, if we were in a boat, we just go full steam ahead and ignore all obstacles. However, we have to get our story together. Who are we?
Yes.
What are the
Who are
elements?
we?
Yes, who are we? You see? And
That have been abused for so many years, being
well,
made slaves out of. Who
well, yeah,
are we? But I think people might say it's not only black people who were enslaved. There were also other nationalities who were enslaved. But anyway, we want to know who are we as
well, yeah, yes, yes, that's right. And they are right about that particular, but they just can't say that in the defense. They must say the whole context of what it is so. For example, how do we get to be called slaves? There's nothing in our 16 million years that has that sound in it, you see? Before us, say 5 or 6 centuries before us, the Europeans as Christians were fighting the Caucasians who are Arabs over who is God and what is the name of God. That has nothing to do with that. That all took place around the Mediterranean, not in the Nile Valley, not in the Niger Valley, not in the Zambezi. It was just all in Europe and Asia. And following the Crusades, the Europeans, the West Europeans, the French and the Germans, would abduct the Eastern Europeans, the Slavs, to replace their war dead. And so there became a 3-tier system: the royalty, the gentry, the peasants, and or which was then called the serfs. And the Slavs were merged in with the serfs, and they became a 4th class. Therefore, the serfs and the slaves. Now, we have that in the law of the United States, believe it or not. Before the first blacks came here, the whites who were not gentry or noble came as indentured servants, see? And so when we came here, we became members of the indentured servant group. See?
Okay.
Now, you see?
Okay.
So we have to know the history of all these words, see? We are not slaves, we are Africans. Slave is the national name of the Eastern Europeans. See how that's happened? So, who are we? And so we actually are the inventors of civilization. See? For example, it is the Egyptians who get credit for our organized concept of the cosmos. See? That the Egyptian system begins, say, 12,000 years ago under Osiris, the generation of Osiris. But the Osirian period is the 4th of four epochs. And the first epoch was Atum, the wanderer.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was Shu, the stargazer.
Yes.
The third was Seb, the geometer. And then there is Osiris, the farmer, you see? And he organized government as we know it. For example, we say that we have a president and we have states and we have counties and we have a democracy. Well, Egypt, the Assyrians invented that. Rather than having a massive dictator over the whole valley, each town was allowed to have its own constitution, but it had to be consistent with the national concept of the country. And so that system survived 32 centuries. Isn't that magnificent?
Wow. 32 centuries?
Yes.
And this was the system of
Osiris.
Osiris, the farming system.
Yeah, the farming system, yes. The problem that caused them to do this mentalizing was that the Sahara Desert has a cycle. Sometimes it's green, sometimes it's desert. And the desert part took place during the time of Osiris, you see. That cycle is 24,000 years round. And it just happened that from the time of Osiris to us is basically half of the cycle of the Sahara Desert. We are living in a time when the Sahara is about to go green already, you see? Now, we survived those 12,000 years because the Egyptians invented irrigation. Now, in our times, we have machines that can take water out of the air. We have machines that can take the salt out of the ocean. We should therefore now be building machines to rehydrate the Sahara and help it to recover, to accelerate that cover.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Now,
have the technology nowadays. Yeah.
So now, but the whites are not going to do that for Africa. So we must do it for ourselves. You see. And so one of the reasons they do this is to break our concentration. For example, when the missionaries came to Africa, the Atlantic Africa, over the last 6 centuries, they began to attack our system of organization. No, you should not be female oriented. You should be male oriented. You see? No, you should not worship these wooden idols. You must worship our stone idols. You see the difference? No. And how much depth are they coming with? They're coming with the Greco-Roman period, which only starts about 700 BC. You see, and we start at least 10,000 BC. See the difference?
Yeah.
But we can't defend ourselves if we don't know. And so
how can we help our people to know all this information?
Well, that's why my generation, invented Black Studies. And that's part of the miracle I mentioned about my life, that when I was 20, I took a position with a group called Opportunities Industrialization Center, OIC. And I went there not to be a teacher, but to be a student. And I wanted to learn to be a machinist. And they decided that I was too intelligent and too well educated to be a machinist, that I'd be bored living with men who only had a high school education or just dropped out. No, they were wrong about that, but that was and I said to them, well, you're interrupting my financial plan for my life. So who's going to pay for this? And they says, get a scholarship. Now, if they had said, we will give you a scholarship, it would have been more acceptable. However, I went to the math teacher whom I was assisting because I didn't need counseling in mathematics. And so I was helping other men my age learn to add and subtract, multiply, divide, and decimals. Now here we have kids who, 19, 20, and 30 years old. They don't know those basic things. They failed primary school, you see. So it was a wonderful thing that Dr. Simpson came up and he says, John Jackson, you're not going anywhere. I need you to teach these men. I've not seen men learn as quickly as when you tutor them. And so I was hired by the OIC to be his assistant. But the other teachers, the other professionals, decided that I was an embarrassment. I'll give you an example. in front of the students, one of the teachers, Miss Sims, we'll call her, was late for that day, and I had to correct the papers. And so we were studying the subjunctive. And I said to the students, there is active subjunctive and passive subjunctive, where one is that you do know the truth, but you want to talk as if it's untrue. And the other one is where you don't know the truth, but you will let people say you don't know the truth, but you assume it to be truth. And at which time Miss Sims comes to the room, and all the boys turn, they turn to her and says, Miss Sims, Mr. Jackson says you're wrong, which I had not said at all.
Meaning that I see was wrong. Is that what they meant? That's who they were referring to? That's who they were talking to?
They were talking to the professional English teacher.
Okay. Okay.
And I was her assistant, you see.
Oh. And how did that make her feel?
Well, she went ballistic, as I said. She became a battle axe. She says, all right, let me hear what you have to say. And the phrase, it was something like, an observer saw a head, and it was hidden by the fence, and then it became visible and so did the head rise above the fence, or was it raised above the fence? No, we're going to have now a contest of bulls over that. And so I tried to back out. He says, all right, whatever you say. Then she says, no, you're not going to stand here and defend yourself. And so I went into the active voice and the passive voice. And the active voice means that the whole individual that's going to move has the power to move itself. Whereas in the passive voice, the object cannot move itself and some outside power has to do it. And on that basis, the head is riding on the shoulders. Therefore, it is a passive object rather than an active object. And she says, so now, if I tack myself to this chair, am I active or passive? That's how. No. And of course, the class is broken up in stitches, right? Doing this whole thing.
Who was she asking the question about when she's in the chair? Is she active or passive?
Yes, she was challenging the grammar point that there is active voice and passive voice, you see.
Okay. Okay.
So the bell rang, so you'd think I was saved. And so we went to the faculty room, and she went and she says, guess what my aide said today? And everyone started laughing. And then she went through this whole thing about active and passive voice and so on. And then she said, next he would tell us that the sun does not rise. And I couldn't let it go. I says, it doesn't. The earth turns. That's how my career started.
Oh, wow.
Now, one of the other teachers was a young man my own age, a college student,
yes.
named Playthel Benjamin.
Yes.
And he came to me and he says, these people are here because this is the last chance for them to succeed in life. And they will cut your throat if you embarrass them. He says, however, I understand what you're saying, and I have some people I would like for you to meet. So I went with him one day, and he said he was going to go to Harlem to meet some friends. So I went with him to Harlem, and there I met a brother named Maxwell Stanford. Now, to many people, they already know Maxwell Stanford was the founder of RAM, you see, the Revolution Action Committee. But Playfell and he were just not two individuals. They were part of the whole national group that became the Black Power movement. They were friends of Stokely Carmichael, for example, and they were friends of Obadeli, who founded the Republic of New Africa. And all of that suddenly became a movement.
Wow.
And so they asked me, they said, here's what we're going to do. And they told me, and I said, well, if you take that position, you're going to be challenging the white society. And that will mean war. See? Right now, Black people are not prepared to go to war and shoot white people. See? So, but there does exist in the society an element of armed men who will take that point, and that's the street gangs. So before you go and create this national movement, go and recruit the street gangs to find out if they are willing to be Black and pro-African, you see. 2 years later, a group of businessmen in Philadelphia gave that group a 10-year contract at $1 million a year. Isn't that great? To
2
teach.
years later.
Yes. From 1964, just 4 years later, 66 through 68.
Yeah.
During that time, we got the red, black, and green became a symbol that everyone know. The students began complaining on the campuses that the white schools were not teaching Black studies, and therefore they were going on strike. We got Black student movements and Black student associations on campus, and we got Black Studies program. Between 1966 and 1968, a study shows the number of Black Studies programs available in America went from 100 campuses to 1,000. Isn't that great? In 2 years.
Wow. Between those 2 years?
Yes, between those 2 years.
From being how many?
From 100 in 66
Yeah.
to 1,000 in 68.
In 68.
Mhm.
Wow.
That's how successful the Black Power movement was.
And this Black Power movement, is it still in existence today?
Only in our memories. Not all of us have passed away. I'm one of the relics.
Okay. 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 And it started in Philadelphia?
Yes, the Black Power movement started in Philadelphia with that meeting with Playfell Benjamin and Maxwell Stanford. And they were part of this national cadre of college students of the Black colleges of the South and many of the elite colleges of the North. And so they basically know each other. And one day there was a rally of students, and Stokely Carmichael was the cheerleader. And he stood up and says, "Repeat after me, Black Power." And then the man says, "Black Power." And he said it again, "Black Power." And that started the whole custom.
Wow. Oh, I've seen the movement is still around. They still do the same. They do call out that slogan. I've seen
Yes,
them.
they do.
They wear
Yeah,
black uniforms and they
that's
have
yeah.
ammunition. I've seen
Mhm,
them, yes, on
mhm,
TV
mhm.
and all.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
still there,
wow.
but it's not organized properly, you see? It's just existing like scattered pieces. And because of that, we've lost 2 generations of the young people, you see? That the we, according to my philosophy, are Africans, and therefore we must raise our children in an African manner, not for the present, but for the future. Therefore, a child is not born simply to be, a toy for the parents to play with, but he is or she is to become a leader of their generation 20 years later. And so Africa has senior citizens, junior senior citizens, elders, senior elders, junior elders, young men or young adults, and children, you see. And so there is a social mission for each of those stages. And like young men begin to become fathers and young girls marry in their late teens, early 20s. And then by the time they're 30s, they're going to be grandfathers. And and by the time they get to be 50, they're going to be great grandfathers. That's 60 years of living energy. And so the children learn life from the people who are leading. And so that's what I wanted done here. And actually it worked. In that contract I mentioned, in which the white fathers of Philadelphia gave the Black Power movement a $10 million contract, they did so.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, they did so in sorrow at the assassination of Martin Luther King. And so they then went to all of the bourgeois leaders in town, and they called in some of the the Black Power group and so there's 4 Black Power groups, and the third Black Power group was here in Philadelphia. You see?
Okay.
And so Maxwell came to me. I was then at the UNIA. I was a division officer there. And he's told me all the things I just said, that how he and the SNCC group and the Black Power group and the Panthers, how they all now wanted to do something concrete and permanent, and how they were having this funding from the local group, business group, and what should they do?
Yeah.
And I responded, Black people are micro-organized. There are too many groups already.
Yeah.
What we need is a consolidation, a bringing of people together. And so go to all of the groups in the city and say to them, will you join a central committee to unify the city? And it turned out the answer was yes, to their surprise.
Wow.
And that's what I've learned over the years. The common people often aren't asked anything. Everyone just stands there and orates and barks at them. See, I'll give you the. I'll take the whole story in turn. So he took me at my word, and 2 months later, there was announced that the city was going to create an organization called the Black Coalition.
Okay. 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 So that's what it's amalgamated to the Black Coalition?
Yes, right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And then the expected, but what happened, which I didn't hope, what I did hope would not happen. Basically, that here we had men who were born of common people, earning $10,000, $20,000 a year, and suddenly they're controlling a whole million. You see the problem? Well, it drove them crazy. They went money crazy. And they began fighting over the distribution of the fund. And And so the white system basically shut them down. If you're going to fight, then, no use to us. Then everyone turns to me and says, John Jackson, we want our money back. It's my fault, right?
Wow.
I says, well, let's go down and talk to the funders and see where their head is at. And they went through the whole thing, you see. And this is, we ourselves are not always angels, and we don't mind 1,000 or two being missing here or there, but somehow we can't not account for $500,000. Now, what they should have said at that point is that if you find this $500,000 for us, we'll open up your account again. It happened that I had not come there from the point of view of being a lawyer or being in litigation. I was just there for the semantics of it all.
Yeah.
But it turned out that in the records in the building we were occupied with, there was a note saying that the bourgeois members of the committee gave themselves a corporate loan of $500,000.
Wow.
Without telling the whites. They just did it and let the blacks take the blame.
Can you repeat that? The bourgeois members, meaning who are these bourgeois members?
Okay. Well, one person was a government official.
Yes.
One was a state judge. One was a federal judge. And one was a member of the NAACP. One was a leader of the Black Muslims. And one, believe it or not, was a mafia figure. Now, what is a mafia figure doing in a Black Power movement, you say? In a cultural movement to save the common people. But there he was.
And these are the people who were the contributors to this fund?
No, the names I just gave you were Black leaders who represented groups inside the city.
Okay.
But they used their prestige to intimidate the corner boys who only had high school educations, you see.
I didn't quite get that. Could you please repeat that, Brother Jackson?
Okay. So there was a panel of 20 people.
Yes.
And the whole movement was based around organizing the street boys to become less violent, to become more cultural, to do better in school, to qualify for better employment, and basically to become better mothers and fathers, you see. But they can't do that unless they've been schooled to do that. And so we had a program called the Muntu Cultural Center. And you'd go there and people would recite poems. We'd talk about African history and Yoruba history. And you may have heard, or you can go on Google and look up a festival called Odunde, Odunde. This year, they celebrated their 51st year.
Okay.
My guys and my friends, we created that we created that just ourselves gathering on a street corner and playing drums.
This year, 2026, is the 55th year.
51.
Celebration of 51st.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's the largest African American festival in the United States.
Wow. And this will be celebrated in Philadelphia.
Yes, it's celebrated every year in Philadelphia.
Which month?
May, late May, early June, yes.
Okay, so for 2006, it's already done. They did already celebrate.
They did that already.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's called the Odunde. Okay, we'll look it up.
Okay, so that see that you can't program that, all of that lucky talent just grouping together accidentally and casually, you see? So what happened was that the bourgeois leaders of the city became jealous of the militants. And and one of the dramatizations of that was that we had a building and it was a large hall.
Mhm.
And the kids have dance clubs around the city, and they're
Yeah.
always looking for a large place to hold their balls. And one day they just showed them, says, could they rent our halls for their dances? And we said, sure. And they'd come in, and 4 or 5 times a week they'd have live bands and dance for 4 or 5 hours. Isn't that great?
Wow.
So in the neighborhood, there was a bourgeois group called Jack and Jill.
Okay.
And the leader of that group became angry that when she and her girls were walking down the street being prim and proper, our building was rocking. So she took on a campaign to have the building declared a public nuisance.
Public nuisance.
Mhm. But we've been doing it for 6 months before she got to that point.
Okay.
And so what they did, it's one of those things of throwing the brick and hiding your hand. So she went to one of the gangs in the city and bribed them to disturb our place. Now, the way we know this is that the boys came to us saying the story that they've been offered monies to disrupt the building should they do it. Isn't that great?
Wow.
They came to us for permission. And I wasn't there, but the men who were there didn't have the presence of mind to say, if you destroy this building, then where are you going to go to celebrate?
Yeah.
What also had happened, we learned at that point, was that the gangs around the whole city, there was like 68 of them, had a conference on their own, and they came to a truce that our building was neutral territory, and the neighborhood 4 blocks in all directions, so that everyone could catch the buses and the elevator to go to anywhere in the city, and they could walk there safely. They created a neutral zone so that even the men they were fighting in school could safely come and dance. Okay?
Wow.
The FBI and the city of Philadelphia came to me for an explanation. And they said, during the summer of 1968, there was a statistically significant decline in juvenile delinquency. And since your program is the only new element in town,
Wow.
we attribute that effect to you.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations. And this was in 1967 or 69 when they
Mm-hmm.
were looking at these statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it turned out that the boys that we had been influencing turned out to be 68,000 males. That was 10% of the Black population in the city. And so you just can't do that, the ordinary way. So I don't look at it as something I did. It was just fate looking for the opportunity to improve the Black condition. And it worked. It worked, you see. And in imitation of us, a church in Chicago got a grant from the federal government to work with the the Black Stone Rangers, you see.
Yeah.
And also, so and many groups like that, even like Leroy Jones or Baraka, for example, in Newark, they got a grant for his cultural program. And so that became a whole national movement of Black studies programs and Black cultural programs being funded by public sources and local businessmen. See? All of that came from that incident of the OIC refusing to let me enter as a student and insisting that I become a teacher. Now, I mentioned in passing that I was an officer at the local Division 121 here in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Now,
Of the UNIA.
Of the UNIA, yes.
Yeah, of the Universal Negro Improvement Association.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Now, that happened during the Black Studies part of some Black students from Swarthmore went to the hall and rented it out for a public seminar. And they came to me and my group saying, would we attend? And we agreed to go. And that's how I was introduced to the living members of the UNIA. The president was born in 1890. Isn't that beautiful?
What year was this? Was this in 69?
Yes,
70?
69 and 70, yes.
Okay. And you met the first, you said the first?
I met the first generation of Garveyites.
Wow.
Yeah. So that he and Mr. Garvey were 1 year different. Mr. Garvey was born in 89, I think, and he was born in 90.
What's his name?
Thomas Watson Harvey.
Oh, Thomas Watson Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You met Mr. Harvey?
I know Mr. Harvey, yes. I went to his funeral. I knew him for about 10 years, yes.
It's about 10 years ago since he passed now?
No. The length of time, the last years of his life and my life is about a 10-year period, yes.
Okay, from 1970 to 1980, around there.
No, from 1965
Oh,
to 1975, yes.
oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 1965, you were already a youth member in the UNIA?
No, that's the year I
1965?
joined. That's the year I joined, yes.
That's the year you joined? That's the year I'm born.
Yes.
I was born. You were already a member of the UNIA?
Yes.
Wow. Wow, 1965. And the
Mhm.
UNIA was founded in 1916, actually. That's when Garvey came to America, 1917. And then 1918, he founded the UNIA in New York, Harlem. That's when he incorporated it.
Yes, that's the right period, 1914 to 1920. He went from being a one act in Jamaica to being the leader of 1 million people, yes. Mhm.
In the United States. No, actually, globally, not only in the
Globally,
United
yeah,
States.
globally, yes. He went from being just himself and his friends to having 1,000 divisions, okay?
Globally.
Globally, yes. And that's why he got torpedoed. That W.E.B. Du Bois is one of those bourgeois that I refer to every now and then. He was more proud of his French heritage, he's a Huguenot, than of his African heritage. And he believes because of that mixture, he is a superior being who should become a substitute master in the Black neighborhood for the whites who would retire to the shadows. And so the conflict takes on that his group is called the National Association for Colored People, and Garvey's group is called the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So the bourgeois want to advance colored people, and the UNIA wants to improve Black people.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that distinction.
Yes, yes.
Wow. And both organizations are still surviving. But which one
Yes.
came first? The UNIA or the NAACP? Because the UNIA has been there since 1910, actually, not 1914.
Well, the 1910 is the year that the NAACP was created, yes.
The UNIA was
No,
also
no,
there
no.
around that time.
In 1914, the UNIA was created.
Okay,
And the
okay,
way the boost that Garvey got, which created the animus with Du Bois, was that Garvey read the biography of Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery, and he was impressed by it, and he felt that Jamaica should have a tech school in the way that Booker T. Washington had a tech school in Tuskegee. Now, the backstory is that uh, Washington did not create Tuskegee. Tuskegee created Washington. The voters of Tuskegee, a town in Alabama, wanted their children to have a tech school education, but there was none in the state for Black people. So they contacted um, the one of the other Black schools and saying that they wanted to have one of their graduates to come to Tuskegee and to organize the Tuskegee School. And Booker T. Washington was the student that was chosen. And so that was in the 1880s. And then he went to Alabama and he says, this is a tech school that for the students must learn to be technicians and technologists. They will build everything.
wow,
And so that was what inspired Marcus Garvey to create the UNIA, that he wanted an organization like Tuskegee to
wow.
improve Jamaica. So he wrote to Booker T. Washington
Mhm.
saying that could he come to America on a fundraiser?
Yes,
And Washington says, yes, you may. So Booker T. Washington arranged for him to meet the elite class
yes,
of Americans, the Rockefellers and the DuPonts and Carnegie. And he arranged for him to do this tour of America. And so he then went around the country on the speaking tour, and everybody liked what he had to say. When he got back to Harlem, his Jamaican friends said, you belong here with us. Jamaica doesn't need you. We need you. It's almost what happened to me in OIC, right? So instead of going back to Jamaica and building the UNIA, he stayed in New York City and made the UNIA. And little things like that
wow.
makes the
That's how
waves
it
of
all
history.
started.
Yes, yes. And of course, Du Bois got angry because in the in the 6 years between 1914 and 1920, Garvey had more members and more divisions than the NAACP. In fact, we are something like 115 years later, and the NAACP still hasn't had as many divisions or chapters as the as
UNIA
Garvey
had.
had. Right. So out
Yeah.
of jealousy, they torpedoed Mr. Garvey, you see. And so, for example, the FBI didn't exist then, but a national security force headed by J. Edgar Hoover infiltrated the UNIA. So some of the pretended members were actually government agents, you see, and they were there to cause trouble. And from the histories, we know that the trouble they caused was they would come in and take money out of the cash flow and write a false check and dump it in in the hopper. And so they were stealing money from the organization. See? But Garvey got blamed for it because as he said in court, he was not a businessman. That's why he hired accountants.
Mm.
but of course the court was against him. He was convicted on the evidence of an empty envelope. The postmark on the envelope was a day before Garvey actually bought a ship, which they eventually called the Philly Sweetly. And so the judge instructed the jury, saying, although we don't know what was in the envelope, it had to be something doing with this ship. And so since Garvey did not own the ship on the day this letter was mailed, that is mail fraud. Now, everyone buys a ship and you plan for it before you own it, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes, you plan for it. You don't
Yeah,
just plan the day you receive it. You plan before you own it.
you plan for you own it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on that basis that at least we got half of it done, that President Biden exonerated Mr. Garvey, but he didn't forgive him. Now, there's an interesting puzzle here. How can
Yes.
you forgive an act that is not a crime? You see, there was no crime. But still, there is a movement to have the Congress act on behalf and to get a pardon for Mr. Garvey, nevertheless. And so that's wonderful because it will keep the public involved in the drama. Because
Can
the
you
UNI,
explain to us the difference between the pardon and the exoneration?
okay,
The
and
pardon that
exonerate.
Biden
Mhm,
granted Mr. Garvey and the
mhm.
exoneration that the Congresswoman, if Yvette D. Clark is busy working on right now. What is the
Mhm.
difference between the pardon and the exoneration?
The exoneration is that the issue was not criminal to begin with. And a pardon is that the action that happened was criminal. That's the difference.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So for our audience to understand, it is then the right thing to do what the Congresswoman is currently working on to try and get the exoneration for Garvey's name
Yes.
in light of the pardon that was issued by President Biden, former President Biden. We're grateful for that part, but we still need this other part to be.
Yeah, that would be, yes, a nice completion because that would solve the whole ambiguity because people, in fact, that caused the collapse of the UNIA because there's a provision in the Constitution that convicted criminals may not be officers. And so here's that, but the crime was false to begin with, you see.
That's a very interesting part you're talking about, that because of the constitution or the bylaws of the UNIA, a convicted criminal is not supposed to hold office. And here, Mr. Garvey now, having been convicted a criminal of mail fraud, even though he was released 2 years after his 5-year sentence, he still couldn't come back and continue with his leadership role of the UNIA, and that caused the UNIA to fall.
Well, to collapse, it did not.
Collapse.
Yes, it did,
It
it
didn't
fell
fall.
from
It
yeah, yes, it decreased from millions to hundreds of thousands.
from the 12 million members it
Mhm,
had
mhm,
to
mhm.
only hundreds of thousands.
Yes,
And that was because now internally there were members who were also infiltrated to speak and do against the Honorable Marcus Garvey.
that's right. That's right. He was entrapped. Yes.
So he couldn't come back to the original registration of the UNIA in New York, in Harlem, that was registered in 1918. He couldn't come back and continue his position where he was democratically elected in 1920 to be the President General of the UNIA. So when he came back from the 2-year sentence, he was sentenced 1925, came out 1927 and was deported immediately. And he couldn't take back his position, even because with the UNIA, regardless of where you are, whether you're in Cleveland, Ohio, whether you are in Belize, you still are the leader of the organization. If you are the president general, it doesn't matter where you are, although the organization is registered in New York, Harlem. So when Mr. Garvey came out, am I correct in saying this? That although he was deported back to Jamaica, he still could have continued his position as the President General of the UNIA, even though
Well,
he was not in New York. But internally, the people who were now infiltrated were against the Honorable Marcus Garvey. And they
that's
used the excuse that the bylaws do not allow someone who has been convicted to continue office.
that's right. Yes, that's how. That's the complexity of it all.
So what will happen now if he gets exonerated?
Well, all of the factions will have to come together in the committee and discuss that point. But as of now, the Cleo Miller is the straight line successor of Garvey,
Yes,
and we have extended the influence of the UNIA to the African Union, you see.
yes,
And our influences resulted in the creation of what everyone may be hearing of the African Union Sixth Region, see?
yes.
That's our doing. And so the
Sorry,
UNIA,
if I may cut you there, you said that's
uh-huh,
our doing. When you say
yes,
that's our doing, you mean the UNIA under the leadership of President General Clovis Miller
that's correct. That's correct.
in
And
Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah.
on the
So you
Cleveland,
have
yes,
made this linkage with the African Union,
yes.
correct?
Yes, in 2002,
Yes.
when the African Union was created, it came to America to consult with all of the organizations in the hemisphere. Isn't that's
Wow.
marvelous?
Wow.
So that bridge between us and Africa is still alive, you see. And so I attended that meeting, and I sat on the committee called Democracy, Governance, and the Rule of Law. That committee submitted 10 planks, and 2 of them were mine. And in February of 2003, something like 60 days later or less, the African Union adopted 3 of those 10 planks, and 2 of them were mine. And that's the basis of the Sixth Region.
This was in 2003?
Mm-hmm. In February of 2003, yes.
So what were those two that I adopted that came from you?
That African Americans and other people in the diaspora did not voluntarily abandon Africa. We were abducted. And therefore, we did not deny Africa. Therefore, our hereditary rights are still alive. And they said, yes, you are hereditary members of Africa. And when the African Union becomes the continental government of Africa, all persons of African descent in diaspora will be entitled to birthright citizenship. That's my two suggestions.
Wow. So what did they make of that?
Well, they didn't ask me the same question. I says, well, in the same way that the African continent is organized in 5 regions,
Yes.
it happens that the Western Hemisphere in the Garvey Constitution is organized in 5 regions. And the 5 American regions are Canada, the United States, the Caribbean, Brazil, and Latin America. Therefore, adopt that for for us. You see, at the time it was just we were African members of Africa, and the AU came back by saying we will constitute all of the Africans living outside of Africa as one region, the 6th African region. And it will be divided into 5 regions in the Western Hemisphere, yes, and 5 regions in the Eastern Hemisphere for the Blacks who are living in Europe, Asia, and Australia, and the islands of the Pacific. So there are 10 diaspora regions, and we must now organize those 10 regions into a committee to go to Africa and the AU meetings to discuss how we want to fit in.
And this is a role of the UNIA?
Yes.
Or it's a contribution that the UNIA contributed to the African Union, and now
Yes.
it needs to be implemented. And the leadership to implement this is the UNIA.
That's right.
Under the leadership of President
Miller.
General Cleophas Miller.
That's correct. That's correct.
And it's an agreement between the African Union and the UNIA.
Well, it's an agreement between the African Union and the governments of Africa, and a theory that all of the other Blacks in the world should now be able to return as birthright citizens. And then something else happened, very wonderful.
Yes.
The Human Rights Commission in Switzerland got wind of that. And they said they had a program for the diaspora.
Yes.
And it was called the the International Decade on People of African Descent. What should they do? What should the UN do when that contract expired in 2025? And they asked me to advise them.
Yes.
And I says, tell them to make it permanent. And a year later, it was permanent. So it's now called the United Nations Human Rights Commission Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. That's a complete Garvey program in the UN, in the AU. You see?
It's called the United Nations
Human Rights Commission.
Human Rights Commission.
Forum, permanent forum.
Permanent forum
on people of African descent. That means now that every Black people on Earth has legal rights inside of the United Nations.
Every
And
Black,
on Earth.
you said this means every Black person
Uh-huh.
has legal rights.
Mm-hmm.
Could you finish that off?
Well, that if they have troubles with their government
Yes.
and their human rights are being violated,
Yes.
they have a personal right to complain to the United Nations against their government.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your contribution in this manner. Thank you
Well,
so much.
well, I take my job seriously. Improvement is our middle name.
Universal Negro Improvement
Yeah,
Association.
yes. And so now we must now communicate with the African governments one by one to see where their heads and hearts are.
Yes.
And we must communicate with the 3,000 tribes of Africa to find out
Yes.
where their heads and hearts are. And at that point, we can build a global system called the African Commonwealth.
A global system called the African?
Commonwealth.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's where we have been now for the last 24 years. Now, I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Mhm.
Absolutely wonderful. So I think you have shared a lot today, Brother John Jackson, and this is not the end of our, discussion or sharing. This is one of our first, this is just one series,
Mhm.
of a number of series still to come. So this is
Okay.
one of one. We will have series, um, two of one. We
Mhm.
will have session two of series one. And so people can tap into the blessings that you have from when you were a teenager already. You were an
Yes.
activist
Yes.
up until today.
Yes.
You started with the Garvey movement in your early ages, and you were
Mhm.
so fortunate to see the first generation of the Garvey movement,
That's
of
correct. Yes. Mhm.
working with people like Thomas Harvey,
Yes.
who was working with the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
That's right.
And Mr. Harvey, was he the first Assistant President General to the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey
No, he
before
was.
the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey passed?
No, he was president of the division here, but yes, he was a parent body officer, but he was more an advisor to Mr. Garvey, such that he was appointed guardian of his widow and sons.
Wow. And thank goodness we still have one of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey's sons alive with
Hmm.
us,
Yes,
Dr. Julius Garvey, and he is
yes.
out in Florida. And I think
Hmm.
this is just a wonderful moment for him to witness his father being, set free
Yes,
from false accusations,
yes.
you know, and
Hmm.
being convicted to 5 years in prison. But thank
Hmm.
goodness to President of the United States then in 1925, whose
Hmm.
name was Coolidge, right?
Yes, Mm-hmm.
who actually commuted Garvey's sentence to 2 years and deported him back to Jamaica. So he didn't do the actual 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
but he did two of that. So the Honorable Marcus Garvey had, together with Mr. Thomas Harvey,
Mm-hmm.
they had already been communicating with each other even before he was um, deported or
Mm-hmm.
sentenced. And one of the roles for Mr. Harvey was to take care of, before he even passed, was to
Yes.
help um, uh, uh,
His
Mrs.
widow.
Amy Jakes Garvey.
Yes. Amy Jakes.
His first wife was Amy Ashwood, and the
That's
second
correct.
wife, the mother of his children, is Amy Jakes Garvey.
That's right.
And she's the one who the um, Mr. Harvey was given responsibility to take care, to make
That's
sure
correct.
that they are well cared for.
Yes.
And you worked with Mr. Harvey.
Yes. Yes. And
So did Mr. Harvey become President General of the UNIA after Garvey?
yes, he's of the school that preceded Cleo Miller.
Okay, so President General Cleo Miller is directly, immediately after Thomas W. Harvey.
Well, there is James between the two.
L. James Stewart.
Yes. No, not James. James Stewart is his predecessor. Um, yeah, I have to get that back to you. It was,
Okay,
James from Chicago.
okay, okay, okay. But I think this is interesting. In our next interview, I will bring the poster that shows the lineage of Garvey that
Mm-hmm.
the Honorable, our President General, Cleophas Muller, I think it was yourself who has requested that we create a poster. So in the next interview, we will have that poster to share with our audience the lineage of Garvey. And then we also have, I like what you mentioned earlier on in the interview, that what it takes for all the work that has been done with the African Union is now for the UNIA to come together, all the factions to come together and see how to take this work forward.
That's right.
That yourself and the President General Cleo Miller started with the African Union.
Yes, we started at the top, in the center, really. Yes, and they were receptive to the idea,
Wow,
and so it's like the sun in the middle of the solar system. It's just wonderful.
wonderful.
Hmm.
Absolutely wonderful. Is there any last word you want to say to anyone listening to us right now? Um,
Yes, that if they have it in their heart and they want us to organize Africa, then choose a good, honorable group to work with, and I recommend the UNIA Cleveland.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And also, if you don't mind me sharing with our audience that one of the wishes of the Honorable Marcus Garvey was that the UNIA World Headquarters should be in Africa. And we do have that headquarters now in Africa, which is called UNIA Africa. And just to let our audience know that one of our very first volunteer funders is the Honorable Brother John W. Jackson. He has just donated a grand contribution to UNIA Africa, and he's the very first person to donate to UNIA Africa. We want to thank you for that, Brother John Jackson. Thank you so much for opening the doors for UNIA Africa to start to work with all the regions.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad that you took that point. Yes, it's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
You're
We
welcome.
are so blessed to have you. So we will meet again in the next series, and we will continue our series. On the next series, we will touch on the Maroons.
Okay,
Be
oh, it's
ready
great.
for, yeah, look out for that session. So we learn more about what are the challenges that we have gone through as a people, and we still stand today. Thank you. Thank you, Brother John Jackson.
You're welcome.
Goodbye now.
Bye
See you
bye.
next time. Bye bye.
Next time.
Thank you.